So welcome everyone. As a note, this presentation is being recorded. My name is Chelsea Ward and I'm the Professional Outreach Coordinator for the Foundation Fighting Blindness. I see a couple of familiar faces on the call, which is really exciting. We are even more excited to bring everyone together again for the reignition of the Charlotte Consortium. So thank you to our founding team, Lori, Dana, Agatha, and Susan. So at the Foundation Fighting Blindness, we are the global leader in driving research for retinal degenerative diseases. And as a professional outreach team, which includes myself and Michelle Glaze, Director of Professional Outreach, our focus is to support, empower, and educate patients. So our team is really grateful to be able to host the Foundation Forums for Blindness. And as a reminder, the Charlotte Consortium is a virtual platform that brings together professionals serving individuals who are blind or have low vision in the Charlotte area and surrounding communities. So again, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Without further ado, I would like to have our founding team come off mute and introduce yourselves. I will hand it over to my supervisor, Michelle Glaze, Director of Professional Outreach.
Thanks, Chelsea. Hi, everyone. I am Michelle Glaze. I've been with the Foundation Fighting Blindness for about 7 years. I have retinitis pigmentosa, so I walk this journey with vision loss and love being able to bring together professionals and communities throughout the U.S., like Charlotte Consortium, to share resources and create opportunities for collaboration to benefit the blind and low vision community. As Chelsea mentioned, our role as a professional outreach team is to really educate eye care professionals about resources available to individuals with vision loss, including no-cost genetic testing, as well as clinical research that's underway. But importantly, also resources available to individuals and families as they go through their personal journeys with vision loss. So I'd like to echo Chelsea in saying thank you so much to Dana, Lori, Agatha, and Susan for helping us get this reignited. I'm excited to meet everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. Dana, do you want to come off mute and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Dana Dre, Director of Outreach and Programs at Lion Services, and I am so thrilled to see so many people on this call. This was a seed that was planted a long time ago, really bringing this community together, and we're really grateful for the Foundation Fighting Blindness for giving us the platform and the administrative tools. Extra grateful for the guests that are coming in this evening to join us and to learn more about our visually impaired community. And I know we've got some heavy hitters that can spread the word about all the goodness going on. Concurrently, I'm upset that Dr. Hoffman's hair looks much better than mine. So as always, thanks a lot, Dr. Hoffman. I guess I'll just pass it along to you.
Oh, Dana, always full of jokes. So I'm Dr. Lori Hoffman. I am a low vision optometrist at Metrolina Association for the Blind in Charlotte. I have been a part or involved with the Foundation Fighting Blindness for over 15 years. And I started with the foundation in Birmingham, Alabama, where I did my training. And then as soon as I came to Charlotte, I got recruited to be involved in the foundation here. And MAB and Dana, you know, we had worked previously on the Charlotte Consortium, I guess 2 or 3 years ago now. And it was really wonderful. It was a great way to network. It was a great way to meet you know, other people, other organizations who are working in the blindness and low vision rehab field, and it was really helpful for, I think, our clients, our patients, consumers, whatever you want to call them, because you know, that's one of the struggles with patients that have vision loss is they just don't know what resources are available. So I think all of us coming together to share, you know, thoughts and ideas and how we can better serve this community is going to be really great. So thank you for having me.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Lori. And I may have missed Agatha, but I don't see her on the call. But Agatha, if you were on the call, please feel free to come off mute and introduce yourself. Give you a couple seconds just to
She
make sure.
actually could not make the meeting, so I sent her regards.
Oh.
We had some conflicting meetings, so we decided to divide and conquer. I feel like I've been in a continuous meeting like since Monday.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we will represent her well.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Dana. And Susan also cannot make the call. She does send her um, well wishes to everyone, and she could be on the call tonight. But again, thank you so much to our founding team. We'll now move into our presentations, and immediately following our presentations, we will have time for questions. So please be sure to save your questions until then. But it is now my pleasure to pass it over to Dana. Dana, take it away.
So I am going to actually defer to Dr. Hoffman. I want to give as much time as possible to the group here talking about transportation because it really is an issue that is, number one on our list in serving our community. And I want to make sure that they have all the time. You guys are kind of stuck with me, so I can put it and do a presentation later. So, Dr. Hoffman, would you be okay with going ahead first?
Yeah, sure.
Wonderful.
I just wanted, I mean, I feel like I know a lot of people on this call, but I did want to just kind of briefly talk about, MAB, the agency I work for, and kind of how we serve the greater Charlotte area. So I have been with MAB since 2011. I'm the low vision optometrist there, so I exclusively see patients that are blind or visually impaired. We have several, we're a nonprofit, and we have several different services we offer at MAB. One of them being low vision rehabilitation. Obviously, that's what I do. We also have orientation and mobility specialists to teach patients how to, utilize public transportation safely, how to learn how to use the white cane. We also have assistive technology services. So we work with patients on how they can access their phones, their computers, different technology. If they're blind or visually impaired, we do a program called Mini Center and Support Group, which is a several week program that we offer to a small group of clients that will meet once a week for several hours. And the first half of the day is what we call mini center, but it's basically just a crash course in the services we offer, but also opportunity to learn activities of daily living, cooking, and different things like that in a small group setting. The second half of the day is our support group, which is led by one of our former social workers who is blind herself from RP. So that is really, really impactful, I think, for our patients to be around other people who are dealing with the same struggles they are, and allows them to get out of the house, because we know isolation is a big deal, and a big problem with our blind and visually impaired community. And so it's a great way to just get that peer-to-peer support, which is important. We do have a transportation department as well. It's limited because we have just a couple of drivers that we use, vans and accessible transportation to pick patients up and take them to MAB for appointments, but also out in the community for doctor's appointments, shopping trips, things like that. We have partnered with Lion Services and other organizations to do some, more social events and outreach. And we definitely work a lot with the art community and accessible art with the Beckler Museum and other. We've done blind yoga. We've done different things like that. We also have, we do offer some case management too. So our case managers can help our patients, coordinate, different like resources like friendship trays or Meals on Wheels, those types of services. I know that's not called what it's called here, but so different things like that. So that's just kind of an overview of what we do at MAB. Um, and and then we're always looking to partner with other organizations and trying to get the word out there about the resources that are available. So So that's a little bit about NAB for anyone that wanted to know.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lori, and thank you for being part of the wonderful lineup of tonight's presentations. Dana, I will hand over to you to introduce Lee and Brent.
Dr. Hoffman, great job, off the cuff. I love it. So tonight we have two special guests with us, again, alluding to the fact that transportation is a very big issue for the population that we serve. So we've invited Commissioner at Large Lee Altman, and then CAT's interim director, Brent Cagle. And we're really grateful to have both of them here to talk a little bit about transportation initiatives. We have a big transportation opportunity coming up in the ballot. And so we want to give them the opportunity to give us any kind of updates that might be available, and just a general overview. And I think, like Dr. Hoffman said, you know, we're looking to partner with these organizations and have over time. I can tell you, thanks to the efforts of folks on this call, that we have at Lion Services, where we have a host of STS, special transportation, come in, been able to refine that process by partnering with them at the highest level, and have seen just mass improvements from doing that. Concurrently with MTS too, so Mecklenburg Transport Services, which I believe we have about 31 cabs a day that come to Lion Services. And so we've been able to hone that in. I know that these folks are working tirelessly to make the system better, but are up against challenges that happen in every community. So I didn't read your bio, Commissioner Altman, because I went on a tangent. So I will like to introduce you now. And if you'd like to share any things with us, then we would love that. And then afterwards, Director Cagle, if you would like to take up the helm as well. So thank you both for being here.
Dana, thank you so much. I want everyone on the call to know what a tremendous advocate you have in her. She invited me to her office and gave me a tour of the facility, and it has really deepened my knowledge and understanding, and allowed me to bring forward your story and the story of this work. And it's just the beginning of our collaboration. So yes, my name is Lee Altman. I'm an at-large county commissioner, which means that I serve the whole county, all 1.2 million residents. Whenever I speak to folks, I always want to give like a 60-second summary of local government, like local government 101, because many of us are rightly obsessed with what's happening at the national level, but don't totally understand what our local government is. So there's essentially three branches of government at the local level: city council, county commission, and school board. And we do different things. So everybody knows what the school board does. But what city does, think of it as hard services: transportation, fire, CMPD, neighborhood zoning, trash. Think about the county as soft services, heart services, public health, mental health. We fund education by about $1 billion. The Department of Social Services, Park and Recreation, clean air, clean water. And we fund the sheriff's office. We fund the library system, and a whole bunch of other things. And if you add the budgets of the city, the county, and the school board, you're talking over $7 billion in local taxpayer money. And so, yes, I saw some eyebrows go up. So although it's very important what happens at the state and national level, hugely important, it really matters that that you are connected to your local elected officials and advocate. And just so you know, right now, City Council has an election going on, and County Commission will have our primary in March, when most of these races are decided. And I say that not as a partisan, but because I want you to know that your moment to ask for elected officials to show up for you and to understand your issues and to vet them if you think they're paying attention and care is actually happening as we speak. And so it's just incredibly important for you to be able to flex that muscle and get attention and support for your needs like any other group would. I want to say that because of our collaboration together, my and Dana's, that some incredible advocates from the blind and visually impaired community have come forward and spoken in public forums about their experience with transit in this community, and have been, in my personal opinion, my subjective opinion, the most powerful advocates that I have heard yet. Yes, I see a thumbs up from our former county commissioner at large, Dr. Wilhelmina Rembert. I mean, like, moving. So Mr. Cagle, the interim CEO of CATS, I'm going to allow him to do the heavy lifting when we get to transit. But basically, what we know is that our current transit system is funded with a 0.5-cent sales tax that was passed 25 years ago. And in my opinion, having scrutinized the budget and the operations for CATS, I believe they are doing the best they can on a shoestring. And it's not good enough. It's not even close. There was one route in the entire county that has 15-minute, where the bus comes every 15 minutes. One route in the entire county. Like, that's all we need to know, that it is woefully inadequate. But after years of struggle and effort, we have finally obtained permission from the General Assembly to ask the voters of this community to approve a 1-cent sales tax that would enable us to bring in $24 billion over the next 30 years, that would allow us to create 15-minute bus headways all throughout the county, and allow us to have micro transit programs, which I know Brent will talk about, that's door-to-door service in 18 different zones, high density zones across the county, to bring you to a bus or a train. It will allow us also to greatly expand our rail system, in addition to improving sidewalks and crosswalks and lighting and bus shelters and all the amenities that we need. And so it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard to be successful with the referendum this fall. And we're going to need everybody to reach out to their friends and neighbors to educate, because nobody wants a tax increase. And there's a lot of misinformation about this plan. And so I'm excited that we're going to learn more about it tonight, so that you can all be ambassadors and influence your precinct chairs and your neighborhood associations and your running clubs and your, whatever you're involved in, to your faith communities, to urge them to be active and engaged and to support this. And so I also want to recognize on the call Andre Amos, who is the Senior Social Services Manager for Mecklenburg County's MTS program, and come off of mute there, because I just want to make sure that he introduces himself. And if Dana, if I haven't taken up too much time, to give him just 2 minutes to be sure that everyone on the call knows the services that the county has. And then we will fully pivot from the county to the city and hear from Brent Cagle, if that works for you.
That's absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. So again, thank you for the introduction, Leah. I really appreciate that. So again, my name is Andre Amos. I'm the Senior Social Services Manager with MTS. And yes, we do offer services for the visually impaired folks in our community. We do a lot of transportation with our vendors. To Lion Services is one place that we transport to work, from work, to get them home safely, and so they're not sitting outside and waiting, and we try to get there. And we use mostly our vendors for that part. However, we do have, at time and time, we may have a bus to bring people or so, but mostly we use our vendors. As it is right now, folks, we do about 17,000 trips every month for visually impaired folks. And we're really proud of that. And we're always trying to reach out to the community and help see where we can help more and we can have a bigger presence there. Fortunately for me, Mr. Cagle, I used to work for the city of CATS. I was with STS for about 10 years, and I came over to the county side. And like Ms. Altman was saying, the differences that I've seen between the city and the county is the county is the heart, and it's about people, 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 people. And the folks that work for the county, we wake up every day, as our new county commissioner says, when we walk in the door, our first thought is the people of Mecklenburg County. What can we do to support everybody? What can we do to help? And we focus on that every day. We do extensive training with our operators and our drivers to make sure that they're taken care of and providing perfect and excellent service to the visually impaired by providing door-to-door service for everyone that we come into contact. They receive extensive training on how to communicate, how to interact with people that are visually impaired. Instead of those verbal cues, making sure they know we're there instead of saying, hey, are you here? No, introducing ourselves. Hey, my name is so and so. I'm here to pick you up. And your name is what? I'm over on your left-hand side. Would you like assistance? And that's the biggest thing that we teach our operators is ask people that are visually impaired if they want your assistance. Do not assume just because they have a visual impairment that they're going to just demand you ask if they need it. So we really hammer that home with our operators and our team. And we also hammer that home with our dispatch team, our customer service reps, everybody, that when you're involved with somebody who's visually impaired, they're not deaf. You don't have to scream and yell at them, but let them know, ask them what they want. So it's really important to us over at MTS. And we drive that home every day when it comes to us taking care of the community. Really important to us. Thank you for your time. Hope I wasn't too long-winded, but I'm passionate about this.
Absolutely. And we feel that. And, again, as somebody that's been in the community for quite some time, interacting with different services, I have seen the improvements. I have seen the efforts of everybody, and it really has made a difference. But like Commissioner Altman said, we still have a long way to go. And, it's going to take all of us to get there. And I'm really appreciative of everyone showing up really at the end of the day. So, Director Cagle, are you ready, sir?
I am ready. Thank you. Thank you for having me this evening. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about the 1 cent sales tax and specifically what it can fund. I do work for the city of Charlotte, and so I have to start literally from my legal team's advice by saying this. Per state statute, city staff are not permitted to advocate for or against any measure or candidate. Staff may provide informational content to help the public understand official processes, services, and decisions. Any information shared by city staff is for educational and informational purposes and should not be interpreted as an endorsement or opposition. So that was a message from the city's great legal department. Now that we can talk about all the good stuff, we've got that behind us. I also want to point out that CATS, we are a service provider to the community. Our operators are passionate about what they do, and our staff are passionate about the community that they serve. We have a contract with Metrolina Association of the Blind to help us provide materials in alternative formats, such as large print or braille. We also make verbal announcements on our bus and rail services at key locations, detailing nearby attractions as well as connecting services. And we change those announcements as we make service changes. But we also welcome feedback on the content and on the location of the announcements. What I mean by that is if there's places that we should add these announcements, we love to hear that. We want to hear from our riders to know how we can better serve them. We also, as an example, have partnered with NCDOT and Charlotte DOT on pedestrian supporting infrastructure. A good example of this is the pedestrian crossing right outside Lion Services offices on North Tryon. And the last thing I'll say, shameless plug for one of our grant programs. We are the local administrator of the 5310 grant program. This program, Section 5310, is the Enhanced Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities program, and it's funded by the FTA. CATS administers that locally, and the funding is available for organizations such as private nonprofit organizations, local governments, and public transportation operators, as well as state or local government agencies who coordinate services for seniors and individuals with disabilities. If you or your organization doesn't know about 5310 and you're interested, I'd encourage you to reach out. It is a great program, and we're always looking for applicants to be able to use this funding that we can distribute out into the community for its uses. With that, I'll jump right into the sales tax. So when we talk about the 1 cent, the proposed 1 cent sales tax, I want to talk a little bit about the sales tax itself. It is scheduled to be on the ballot in November, along with other local elections, city council, as well as some others. The local sales tax, what does it do? It does 3 things. It funds roads, it funds bus improvements, and it funds rail improvements. But what doesn't it do? It does not apply to certain goods. The sales tax, just like the existing sales tax, the new sales tax would not apply to most foods and grocery items, to the cost of housing, to the cost of medicine and medical services, electricity, natural gas or gas, and telephone. And so it doesn't apply to all things that are purchased. It has some exclusions similar or exactly like the current half-cent sales tax. Another thing about the sales tax is when we think about the dollars that it generates, the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance did a study recently and looked at who pays the sales tax. And when we think about the sales taxes, all of us, as we buy things inside of Mecklenburg County, we certainly will pay that sales tax. But the other thing the sales tax does, it applies to those visitors and non-residents, right? Those folks who come into town to do their shopping, or maybe come in for a conference and they're buying things when they're here. And so about 30% of the revenues are generated by people that aren't us, right? By non-residents. The last thing that the sales tax does is it provides us with what we call a local match. And when we think about those local dollars, CATS or the transit agency will leverage those local dollars to apply for and receive federal grants. And so we anticipate about $19 billion of local sales tax revenues being generated. And that will allow us then to leverage another approximately $6 billion, $5.9 billion in federal funding. And that's important because without the local match, those federal dollars are there. They exist today and will exist in the future. But without the local match, those dollars are going to go to other transit agencies that do have the local dollars to put towards it. So it's really our ability to leverage our local dollars and receive our fair share of the federal dollars as well. So I mentioned before, $19.4 billion is generated. About 40% of those dollars are for roads, and 19.4 billion is over 30 years. That's a 30-year projection. And so for roads, 40% of those dollars go to roads, and that equates to about $7.8 billion. Now, the roads money will be received by the local jurisdictions, the city of Charlotte, and all of the other towns in the county, and administered by them so that they can do road work, necessary infrastructure improvements to their roads with those dollars. About $3.8 billion, or 20%, is dedicated for bus and microtransit. And then another $7.8 billion or 40%, is dedicated to rail or non-bus infrastructure for transit. So when we think about the roads plan for just the city of Charlotte, so I work for the city of Charlotte, so I'm going to talk about the city of Charlotte's roads dollars. But, and I'll talk more about this in a minute, there is a website, Met Connect, where you can go out and see the regional plans, where what the other towns are doing. And I encourage you to do that. But for roads, I'll talk about the city of Charlotte. The city of Charlotte has developed a roads blueprint for where we would spend those dollars. And again, on the city of Charlotte, those dollars equate to about $100 million annually, or $5.7 billion over 30 years. And that's just for the city of Charlotte. And when we think about roads and what they fund, we're always careful to say, don't think about roads. Roads are certainly, the asphalt that we drive on, the concrete. But when we think about roads and what this can fund, it's more than that. It's sidewalks, it's pedestrian crossings, it's streetscape improvements, intersection improvements, certainly road capacity, street lighting, those kinds of things that are associated with roads to help make them safer for everyone, right? A mobility plan. And when we think about roads, it's not just simply the pavement that we drive on. I'll also mention that with me tonight is Samantha Miller with Charlotte Department of Transportation. As I finish up the presentation, if there are questions on roads, pedestrian crossings, or the city's ADA corridors, Samantha is here to help me out with those questions and answers as we go. So the next thing, as we think about the plan and specific to transit, I always think it's good to think about, to set the table, so to speak, who uses transit. And so what this means and who our users are today. And when we think about transit and we think about our riders, about 61% of our bus riders have no valid driver's license. Equally, about 60% have no working vehicle. So what that really means to us is they either can't drive because they don't have a car, don't drive for whatever circumstances, but really what that means is they are dependent on transit, right? They rely on transit as their primary mode of transportation to get to the doctor, to get to the grocery store, to get to work, all of those kinds of things. The other thing we see with our transit riders is about, on the bus system, is about 69% of them fall into the category of moderate to lower income. And what I mean by that is household incomes under $50,000 or less per year. So about 69% of our riders fall into that category. And then when we think about racial demographics, on the bus, about 71% of our riders are African American, about 7% Hispanic and Latino, and about 11% are white. So that sort of gives you the picture. The last thing I'll say about the riders is we frequently go out and we talk to our riders and we say, what are the things that you want, right? If we're talking about better transit, how do we serve you better? What are the things that you want? And every survey we do, the top three things always come back the same, and they're really simple things. One, transit needs to be reliable. When we say the bus is going to be there, it's there. Two, more frequencies. Instead of 30-minute headways, we want those buses to come more often. So frequencies is how we say that. And three, more amenities. And what that means in transit speak is, instead of just having a sign that says bus will stop here, the bus stop with a sign in the ground at the side of the road. And we've all seen that across the county. Amenities mean concrete pads, benches, shelters, lighting, really the things that bring dignity to the riders, right? As they're waiting for the buses. That's important. It's the top three things always, and it should be. Those are all reasonable things to expect out of transit. So as we think about what's in the plan, bear in mind what we've heard from the riders, right? Because we think we're addressing all three of those things in different ways. So the first thing in the plan, bus and microtransit. Bus is the backbone of every transit agency. probably in the world, but in the country, right? In the United States, it certainly is for Charlotte. And it's where we can make the improvements, should we be funded, the quickest, right? We can see improvements to the bus system overnight, starting in year one. And so the first part of the plan is inside of the first 5 years of additional funding, the top 15 bus routes in the city, which carry 60% of all bus ridership, will go to 15-minute headways. Today, Commissioner Altman stated, today we have one route in the entire city, it's Central Avenue, that runs at 15 minutes or better. It's the biggest route in the city, but really those top 15 routes should do that. And those routes today are 20, 25 minutes, 30, 35-minute routes, the frequencies. All the rest of the routes go to 30-minute frequencies or better. And today, those routes are running at 30 minutes to an hour, right? Generally speaking, around 45-minute frequencies. So significant improvements across the entire bus network on frequencies. The next element of it is something new to Charlotte, but not new to transit. It's microtransit. So what is microtransit? Microtransit is a door-to-door service. You establish a zone, and inside of that zone, it's on demand. You use the CATS app and you schedule a pickup and a drop-off inside of the zone. So you need to be picked up at your house and you're going to the grocery store. You get on the CATS app and you schedule that ride just like you would with an Uber and Lyft. Right now, our service standard, we have one microtransit zone that we're piloting in the county, and the service standard is no greater than 30-minute wait time. Our average is about 15 minutes today. And so you go to the grocery store, you do your shopping, then you schedule your ride, it takes you home. If you have a little bit longer trip, you schedule, it picks you up, takes you to a connection point, a park and ride, or to the bus stop to pick up that 15-minute route, and you make that transfer. Now, the interesting thing about microtransit is it's affordable. Just like our standard bus fare of $2.20, microtransit is $2.20 for each ride. If you're eligible for discounted fares, it's $1.10. And if you're making that transfer to another vehicle, to another transit vehicle, transfers are always free between microtransit and the rest of the system, just like they are. Transfers are free today and they remain free. The last thing I'll say about microtransit is it is ADA accessible, just like all of our services. And so we have vans available that are ADA accessible. The last piece of the bus plan is over a 10-year, inside of the first 10 years of the plan, over 2,000 bus stops will be improved with amenities, things like benches, concrete pads, shelters, and lighting. So we're really focusing on what we've heard from our customers to increase their experience. And I'll say, the last thing I'll say on microtransit is one zone has been rolled out as a pilot. Being funded, this tax, should it pass, allows us to roll out 19 total or 18 additional zones all across the county. Microtransit is never a replacement, is not a replacement for those fixed route, those top 15 routes. It enhances accessibility to those routes, and throughout, it really becomes a first mile, last mile kind of solution where density or road networks, whatever it is, really make it difficult to serve certain areas in the county with a traditional bus service, and microtransit fills that gap. The last piece of the transit plan is the rail plan, or rapid transit plan. And I'll start, there are 4 different expansions, rail expansions. I'll start with the first. It is the Red Line. The Red Line will travel, it is commuter rail, and it will travel from uptown Charlotte up through North Charlotte, the northern parts of Charlotte, through Derrida, up into Huntersville, Cornelius, and Davidson, and possibly with permission from Mooresville and Iredell County, it could travel into Iredell County. But again, that requires their permission or approval. And that is not, they have not made that approval yet. So right now it would run to Davidson or the northern edge of Mecklenburg County. And that is a commuter rail service. The second extension is the Gold Line. On both ends of the Gold Line will be extended. From Hawthorne Lane, it would turn the corner onto Central Avenue and extend on to Eastland Yards or the Eastland Transit Center. On the other side of the line, where it terminates today, roughly at Johnson C. Smith University, it will extend on up Beatties Ford Road, just beyond I-85 to the Rosa Parks Transit Center. We also have the Silver Line, which is our major east-west light rail improvement. In the first segment, or in this funding, if funded, in this segment of expansion, the Silver Line would travel from Charlotte Douglas Airport or from the airport up Wilkinson Boulevard or along Wilkinson Boulevard to uptown Charlotte and then east through uptown to Bojangles. That's the first expansion or first segment. There is also the ability with additional funding in the future to continue expanding the Silver Line, but those would all be future expansions. And then the last rail improvement is on the Blue Line, taking it from its current terminus at I-485 and South Boulevard down to Carolina Place Mall, into Pineville and onto Carolina Place Mall, with the ability to, in the future, to expand on to Ballantyne. With that, I will wrap up. I wanted to make sure I left time for questions, but I will put in another plug for Mech Connect and for the City of Charlotte's Mobility Plus information on the City of Charlotte's website. But if you really want to see the regional perspective on this sales tax and what it means for roads and transit, I would highly urge you to go to Mech Connect.
Perfect. Well, this is Chelsea again. Thank you so much, Mr. Cagle, as well as Lori and Commissioner Altman for your presentations tonight and taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. We'll now open it up for questions. So please put your question in the chat, come off mute, or raise your hand.
Okay, this is Dana. My question surrounds special transportation, and maybe Director Cagle, you know or don't know this. Currently, there used to be a program called STS2, which is an extension of STS, and was able to get to more folks based on the outliers of individuals that did not live near a bus stop. Will the micro transit plan help address that? And if so, can you give me an example of a neighborhood that it could potentially impact?
Yeah. So microtransit is not. So we do believe that there will be a fair amount of overlap between customers who are using microtransit or who could. It's either or, right? They could use STS or even county MTS or microtransit. A good example of that is I always use this example, and for those of you who don't know my history, I'll share a little. I am the interim CEO of CATS, but for many years I was the CEO at Charlotte Douglas Airport. And so one of the microtransit zones is right around the airport along West Boulevard. And I always use this example because it's near and dear to my heart from the airport. There is a community near the airport called Renaissance West. It is literally close enough to the airport. You can see the airport. You can probably smell the jet fuel at Renaissance West. It is so close to the airport. But today, if you work at the airport or need to go to the airport using transit from Renaissance West, it's probably about an hour and a half ride, because what you have to do is you get on the bus on West Boulevard and it takes you to the transit center, where then you get on the airport sprinter and it takes you right back to basically where you started along Wilkinson Boulevard to the airport. That is insane. And there is no good way to walk from Renaissance West to the airport because of Billy Graham Parkway. That it's just, other mobility options are not there. What microtransit will do is, because the airport and Renaissance West are in that same zone, you schedule microtransit, it picks you up at your door and takes you directly to the airport where you may work or you may want to travel. It eliminates that that transfer. And that is a great example, just one example, of how microtransit can better serve the community for those short trips, and connect different areas throughout the region.
That's a perfect example. Thank you.
Any other questions? You can come off mute or put your question in the chat, as well as raise your hand.
Okay, while people are thinking, I want to share also, and some folks already know this, but the county commission and the school board and the city have public forum 1 to 2 times a month when you can sign up to speak. And it's pretty awesome, because instead of doing direct advocacy to one commissioner at a time, which is very time intensive, you can come and speak to the entire body of elected officials, the county or city manager or superintendent, all the executive staff. And I just want to plug that as an ongoing thing that you might try to do twice a year at least, just to share what impediments you find our infrastructure is presenting. And what, it's just a really awesome way to raise the awareness and education of elected folks and city and county staff to understand, so that we can be baking that in as we do our work. And so don't be shy. We would love to see you and hear from you as frequently as you want to come up to the government center and speak.
Thank you,
Well, thank you.
Commissioner Altman. I can definitely concur that that is the case, and we really appreciate that invitation.
Thank you, Dana and Commissioner Altman. Last call for questions for
I had a
Dr.
quick
Hoffman.
question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Stephanie Groot with Metrolina Association for the Blind. I just, as a citizen, was curious. So
I think Stephanie might be breaking up, or it
a
might be
long
on my
spanning
end.
plan, right? Which is fantastic. It's nice to know that, our area is going to have this funding, hopefully, over the long term. So we
Stephanie, I think you cut out. You may have to hop off and join again, or possibly turn your camera off. But we weren't able to clearly hear your question, unless it was on my end. If you want to pop it in the chat too, that works as well. Okay, any other questions for Commissioner Altman, Mr. Cagle, or Dr. Hoffman? Okay,
Hi,
looks
this is
like Stephanie
Becky.
put her question in the chat. Oh, go ahead, Becky.
I have a question about STS more and more cities are looking at using an on-demand type service for paratransit to provide paratransit services in a more efficient manner. Companies like Userve, and there are others. I just happen to know about Userve. I'm just wondering, I'm hearing that Charlotte is considering looking into that with STS, and I'm wondering if that is continuing and what your thoughts are.
Yeah, what I'd say on STS is we do, as demand goes up and demand on all transit services, STS included, demand has been increasing. We will be looking for how we can most effectively serve all of the customers who are requesting those rides, whether it be through microtransit or through other models. But right now, our core model is to self-perform. We provide those services. The operators, the vehicles are all owned, operated by the transit system, and that would be our intention in the future. But and this probably goes a little bit to Stephanie's question, as we evaluate the best practices, we will be able to also go to whether it's currently the MTC or possibly a transit authority in the future, and make recommendations for how we continue to improve service. The other thing I'll say is, and this is true today and will continue through if CATS ultimately or transit ultimately becomes part of a transit authority. We have a public transit advisory committee, which is made up of 15 folks who are users of the system, from all different users, right? Whether it be STS, fixed route bus service, light rail, express, they're all representative of the users of the system. And they have a really powerful voice in providing us and the governing body, the MTC currently, with what they see, right? And their ideas for how we continue to better serve the community.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cagle. And I did want to share Stephanie's question was, what will be the feedback loop to inform the uses of this funding during the next several years?
Yeah, and that goes back to the Public Transit Advisory Committee, or PTAC. It also, if we become a transit authority, that transit authority board is a public body, and will be open to the public to provide feedback. So as Commissioner Altman stated, the City Council, the Board of County Commissioners all seek public feedback. That would be no different with a transit authority that is a public body. Their meetings will be open to the public, and they will have opportunities for public feedback in a variety of ways. And that would be what we would look to, as well as CATS. We're out talking to riders and talking to the community as we think about rolling out these services. I'll give you a great example on microtransit. I've got a lot of really talented transit planners who work for CATS, and they do a great job. And they have these 19 zones all mapped out. Before any zone is actually implemented, the first thing they'll do is go out to the community that zone is in and say, here's how we mapped it. But we don't always get everything exactly right. Did we miss some places? Are there important places that are not in this zone that need to be? And that informs how we make those service provision decisions, right? And we see that today, and that will continue. And that's a great example. Step one, I suppose, for microtransit as an example, is funding. Step two is engaging the community to understand what their needs are, what the needs of that specific zone and that community are, and making that zone work in the best possible way for the community it's intended to serve.
And I will chime in on that to say that, between the county, the towns of Mecklenburg, and City Council, I believe that's 24 of the 27 appointments. And it is our duty to appoint residents, of which everyone is eligible except for elected officials and lobbyists. Everyone else is eligible to apply. It's our duty to appoint people who represent the vision and values of our community, who have the sensitivities of our residents, who have the requisite skill sets for, managing a transit agency. And if we don't appoint good folks, or if the folks we appoint are not good or are not doing that, then we can recall them. And if we do not recall somebody who the community thinks is not doing a good job, then the public can recall us and as elected officials. And so the power remains with the people. This will be your transit authority. And I'll say one more thing, if I have the latitude, if it's okay, and Mr. Cagle is correct to have read the disclaimer from his lawyer, from the city lawyer, and that is proper. I'm wearing my hat as, like in my personal capacity, speaking for myself. I have the ability, as long as I'm not using county resources, to advocate. Unlike a county employee or a city employee, I can, in my own person, advocate. And so I want to, again, make my personal pitch. We have heard so much about what the transit plan can do that I think some folks may assume it's all coming. But we need to be really keyed into the reality that if we are not careful, we could wake up on November 5th and it failed. And we're stuck with a 50-cent sales tax and one route with 15-minute headways and the whole 9 yards indefinitely. And every year, these projects will cost more and we'll get less for it because of inflation. So if there's anyone on this call that feels comfortable and confident that we are better off doing this, even if it's not perfect, then if it fails, I invite you to send me an email so that I can connect you to the campaign to get out the vote, because we need every last passionate voice, diverse experiences, diverse needs to share with the public. And my email, can I share my email? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's any information that you'd like us to share with the group, please feel free to send it to Michelle or myself. And that goes for, Commissioner Altman, Mr. Cagle, and Lori as well.
I can definitely provide you with any level of detail or summary. But if anyone directly wants to reach out to me to say, yes, get me more deeply connected, I want to actually be, yes, Dr. Rembert, I see you.
Oh, thank you so much. I just wanted to ditto exactly what you said. I am operating as a Yes for MEC advocate. I am one of those strong advocates for this because I think it's so important for our community. I appreciate Brent and Commissioner Altman for the work that they've been doing in the community, because they've been trying to make sure that accurate information gets out about how important this referendum is for the entire county, to help us deal with congestion and to be able to move people, connect people all over the community to meet the needs that they have for work, for other essential services, healthcare, any number of opportunities. So I'm a strong advocate. I encourage you to ask all the questions you need to ask, but let us know how you would like to be involved, if you're willing to be involved, to help us get the word out and encourage others to support the ballot measure. And would love to add any names to our list of endorsers who are willing to put their names out, saying how important this is to you to make sure that we get this ballot passed, this measure passed in November. So yes, for MEC, we can also provide information, and we have a website that you can go to get additional information as well. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Well, thank you all so much for joining us again for the Charlotte Consortium. We are nearing our time, but I want to thank our presenters and our founding team. These calls will be happening on a quarterly basis. So our next call will be in November, and we will be sure to send out the calendar invite along with tonight's recording and any of the resources mentioned during the call, as well as any information that Commissioner Altman, Mr. Cagle, or Dr. Hoffman you want to share with the group as well. And thank you guys so much. And I hope you have a